Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning everyone and welcome to our presentation. First of all, let me thank you for the opportunity for us, for Group 1 Aves from Class C, for the presentation, the topics about evolution. Let me introduce myself and my partner on this group. I am Isna Nurmailani Usmani and I'm responsible for this presentation, and my partner on this group for this presentation there are Ayu Rahmayuni, Ruby Dewanti, Nurinka Dwi Putri, Zahra Zahira, and the last Isna Ainun. As you can see on the screen, our topic today is about evolution. Today's topic is of a particular interest to those of you who want to know about evolution, especially for the definition of evolution, natural selection, various theories of evolution, three types of natural selection, destructive selection, and the last, artificial selection. For the sequence, this presentation, firstly, Zahra Zahira like to give an overview, the definition about evolution. Secondly, we will focus on various theories of evolution, which will be presented by Ayu Rahmayuni and Nurinka Dwi Putri. Thirdly, Isna Ainun will explain about natural selection. Fourthly, Ruby Dewanti will explain about three types of natural selection. And last of all, I'd like to give you an explain about artificial selection.
Hello everyone, I am Ruby Dewanti. Here I am replacing Asjara Jahira to explain about definition of evolution. Next, I will tell you about definition evolution. Evolution is process of changing living things gradually and takes a long time to millions of years to change from simple forms to more complex forms. Next, evolution is the change in the heritable traits of population of organisms from one generation to the next. These changes are caused by a combination of three main processes, namely variation, reproduction, and selection. Evolution occurs when heritable differences become more common or rare in a population.
Hello everyone and welcome to Group 1 Aves presentation. First of all, let me say thank you to all of you who have watched the video presentation Group 1 Aves. Let me start by saying just a few words about my own background. I'm Ayu Rahmayuni Pratiwi, member of Group 1, Class C, student of Biology at University Siliwangi Tasikmalaya. My presentation will take about 4 minutes. The topic that I will convey is about the various theory of evolution. First of all, I'd like to give you overview theory of Lamarck and then about theory of Charles Darwin. Jean-Baptiste Lamarck, 1744 to 1829, is one of the best known early evolutionists. Jean-Baptiste Lamarck saying that life started out simple and become more complex. If an organism changes during life in order to adapt to its environment, those changes are passed on to its offspring. He said that change is made by what the organism wants or needs. Described in his 1809 publication Philosophy Zoologique, the environment is the driving force for behavioral change that augment the function or size of tissues and organs that are actively used. The environment is the driving force for behavioral change that atrophy unused structure and organs. Unused or disused traits and characteristics acquired during a lifetime are inherited by offspring. Lamarck claimed that as organisms evolve, they become more complex and more specialized over time. And then Lamarck claimed that life was created by the forces and laws of Science and nature and adaptation and heredity were also of nature and science and not driven by drivers. And then about theory Charles Darwin. The theory of evolution by natural selection was first formulated in Darwin's book The Origin of Species in 1859. The theory described how organisms over time, as a result of change in heritable physical or behavioral traits, change that allow an organism to better adapt to its environment can help it survive and have more offspring. Darwin theory was based on three main observations. First, within a population are organisms with varying characteristics and thus variation are inherited by their offspring. Secondly, organisms produce more offspring than are required to replace their parents. And then, on average, population number remain relatively constant and no population gets bigger indefinitely.
Hello everyone, my name is Nurin Kadi Putri. I am presenter 3 presentation for various theories of evolution, the origin of species. Point 2. For more than 2 years, Darwin collected evidence to support this theory and refined his ideas. Delayed publishing his ideas until 2858, one Alfred Russel Wallace sent him a letter describing a theory of evolution identical to Darwin's. Wallace was identical, breathing natural with handwork. Though he called it from his research that some organisms live will order because of different is characteristic. Some their ability to escape prediction. Darwin and Wallace publishing a paper jointly describing the theory of evolution by natural selection. Various theory of evolution, the reaction of Darwin. Many people found it difficult to explain Darwin ideas, especially the idea that modern humans and apes are probably different from a camel. Next, however, his theory is supported by so much evidence that the majority of biologists expect it. Evolution by natural selection has become a central theme which unifies much of modern biology. The modern theory of evolution is called no Darwin's because it incorporates now scientific evidence, particularly from genetic, molecular, dan molecular biology.
Hi everyone. First of all, I want to say thank you to moderator who has given me the opportunity this time. And let me introduce myself. My name is Isna Yunun. As the three presenters who will explain about natural selection. Okay, natural selection is the process by which population of living organisms adapt and change. Individuals in a population natural sphere, mean that all differ in some way. This variation means that some individuals have traits that are better suited to the environment than others. Individuals with addictive traits and traits that give the some advantage and more likely to survive and reproduce. There's individuals then pass the addictive trait to their offspring. Over time, these beneficial traits become more common in the population. Through this process of natural selection, favorable traits are transmitted from generation to generation. Natural selection can lead to species where one species gives rise to a new and very different species. This is one of the processes that drives evolution and helps explain the diversity of life on Earth. Darwin and other scientists start that the process of natural selection in nature without human intervention. He argued that natural selection explains how various forms of life develop over time from a common ancestor. Genes are something that excite, and it can be seen that many traits can be inherited, passed down from parent to offspring. Thank you for attention, and sorry if there are mistakes. I will return to the moderator. Thank you.
Hi everyone, good morning. I would like to say thank you for coming to our presentation. It's great to see you all. Before continuing the material, here I will introduce myself. My name is Bidewanti. I am from Group 1 of Class C Biology Education. Next, in this presentation, I will discuss about three main types of natural selection. As you can see on the screen, there are three main types of natural selection, each of which affect the characteristic in the population in different ways. There is first stabilizing selection, which preserves the average phenotype. Second is directional selection, which favors the extreme phenotype. Third is disruptive selection, which favors more than one extreme phenotype. Next, I will explain each of these points. Stabilizing selection. Stabilizing selection is a type of natural selection occurs when there are selective pressures working against two extremes of a trait and therefore the intermediate middle that is selected for. If we look at the distribution of trait in the population, it is noticeable that the standard distribution is followed. The example of stabilizing selection, there are three. First, in human. Characteristics such as height and weight undergo stabilizing selection. If the birth weight of human is too low, it will have difficulty surviving after birth. On the other hand, a baby weighing too much will create complications for both the mother and the child. In these scenarios, the middle ranges are the optimal after birth rate. The example of animal is bird classified in birds. Birds that lay too many eggs have an increased chance of losing offspring to starvation. Birds which lay too few have a discrete chance of these birds surviving and passing their genes on. The last one is the example for a plant. The plants that are very tall exposed to more wine of being blown over. The plants that are very short fail to get enough sunlight to prosper. Directional selection. This type of natural selection occurs when selective pressure are working in favor one extreme of a trait. Therefore, when looking at the distribution of trait in a population, a group tends to learn more than one side. The example of directional selection is giraffes. Giraffes with the longest neck are able to reach more lips to each. Selective pressure will work in the advantage of the longer neck, and therefore the distribution of the trait within the population will shift towards the longer neck trait. The last one is disruptive selection. This type of natural selection occurs when selective pressures are working in favor of two extreme and against the intermediate trait. This type of selection is not a common. When looking at the distribution, there are two higher peaks on a both ends with a minimum in the middle as such. The example of disruptive selection is an area that has black, white, and gray. Bunnies contains both black and white rocks, but the trait for white and black will be favored by natural selection, since they both prove useful for camouflage. The intermediate trait of gray does not prove as useful, and therefore selective pressure acts against the trait. I think that's all for me. Thank you.
Artificial selection is the process of selection conducted under human direction. For example, there are only like one individuals to breed, and the breeders have created the great variety of dog and cat plants. There are three types of artificial selection. The first one is selection breeding, the second one is hybridization, and the last one is inbreeding. The first of three types of artificial selection is selective breeding. Selective breeding is the process of modifying characteristics of living things, especially to enhance one or more desirable traits by selective inbreeding controlled by human direction. For the example, there are breeding broccoli, cauliflower, and cabbage. Hybridization is the process in which two complementary single-stranded DNA or RNA molecule bond together from a double-stranded molecule. Like example, interbreeding between individuals of different species but same genus, like mole, male donkey, and female horse. Inbreeding is mating between individuals that are related by ancestry and it's more likely in population. Example like parent and offspring, like a full brother and sister or half brother and sister. Step of artificial selection. The first, human decide trait or characteristic of interest. 2. Breed the choice together. 3. Choosing offspring with ideal characteristics to mate. 4. Repeat for many generations. 5. The allelic frequency for the characteristic increases. And the last, decide what type of selection is such as selective, directional, or destructive. Inbreeding involves breeding between closely related individuals which may change, possess, and desirable character. In which desirable character include high yield, 2. Short lifespan for resistance, and less high protein for the grain. That being us to the end of the presentation. I would like to summarize by saying evolution is a process of changing living things gradually and takes a long time to millions. From to the change from a simple form to the complex form. There's a lot of various theories of evolution such as theory Charles Darwin, theory Lamarck, and the theories origin species. And there are three types of natural selection such as stabilization selection, destructive selection, and directional selection. Artificial selection is the process of selection conducted under human direction. It was a lot example in this word like mole, male donkey, and female horse, breeding broccoli, cauliflowers, and others. Thank you very much for your great attention and thank you for your listening to our presentation. May all those we have shared be beneficial for all of us. Sorry if there are any mistakes in speech or anything. Thank you so much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.